So for today, we are factoring where A is not 1. I'll show you what that means in a minute. But for right now, would you just go to this page and multiply these out? I personally use FOIL, first, outside, inside, last. If you just want to distribute, it'll actually work. But you got to distribute everything to everything. There's a whole bunch of little parts. First would be 2x times the x is 2x squared. Outside would be these two. Plus 6x. Inside plus 1x. And lasts plus 3. Did you have 2x squared plus 7x plus 3? Raise your hand if you did. Awesome. Well, today it would be that's your problem, and now you have to factor it. And A, which is the first number, is not 1. And it's like reverse of what we just did. It's like trying to figure out what those are, but I'm not going to show you those because I just want you to see how I could do it without seeing the answer. I know the first ones have to multiply to 2x squared, so this has to be a 2x and an x. Next, I look at the signs. See how this is a plus and this is a plus? Well, then these have to be pluses. Super simple. If they only use plus, you use plus. Last but not least, the 2 question marks have to multiply to 3, and there isn't that many choices. It must be a 3 and a 1. And so I'm going to stick in the 3 and the 1 in these 2 spots. Now, it does matter, but I'm not sure which is right. So I'm going to just try putting the 3 here and the 1 here and see what happens. Outside, inside is what it's all about. The outside is 2x. The inside is 3x. Together, that makes 5x, and that's not what I wanted. So then I can very quickly realize that this must be the 3 and this must be the 1. You see how fast that is? And then all of a sudden, I've got my answer. Now, the thing that I told you the other day, and I think some of you thought I was crazy, was I said, it won't always multiply to these and add to these. Because look, the 3 and 1 add to 7. No, they don't. So that was a good trick when the problems were easy. But multiply to this and add to that doesn't work anymore. But what part does still work? They multiply. These 2 multiply to that. And that still is true. But the outside and the inside make the middle. That's still true. All right. Go to this one. It should take you only a few seconds to multiply it all the way out. Who beat me? Raise your hand if you beat me. Nice. Okay. Now, act like it was a factoring problem. I'm just going to choose not to look at the answer because it don't have to. 3x squared could be broken up into a 3x and an x. This time, is it both pluses? No, because if there is a negative, then there has to be at least one negative. So the first one is negative because one of them has to be negative. Now, by using logic, I know that the other one has to be negative because the only way to get a positive 10 at the end is to do a negative number times a negative number. So I know they're both negative. And last but not least, you figure out what multiplies to 10. And it's probably 5 and 2. And I'm going to cheat and look back and go, the 2 is first and then the 5. But how would I have known that? Well, I wouldn't. What if I put the 5 and the 2 this way? It just wouldn't have worked. I'd check this and it wouldn't make 17. And then I'd go, oh, guess it's not that way. Then I guess it's this way. And it is that way, and I'm done. That is factoring when A is not 1. That's it. Now, how could the lesson be that short? Well, just because sometimes they're weird. But in the end, It's just factoring. And it's just factoring harder problems than you've typically ever done. All right, we're going to skip that whole page because you didn't need it. And we're going to skip this page because you don't need it, because I've already told you those things. We're going to get to this page. See if you learned anything. If so, you'll be able to factor these. First step, figure out what numbers go first. Then figure out if it's pluses or minuses or one of each. Last, figure out what the two last numbers are. I'll pause for a second while you try to factor these two. All right, here we go. 2x and x. If you don't, and if you know nothing else, you gotta know that this can be broken up that way. Then I gotta look and see, if it's all plus, you only use pluses, but that's the only time. And they almost never are all plus. So I'm gonna always start with a negative. Why? Because you're in honors, and almost never are we going to have all positives in the problem, because it's just too easy. So then one's minus, and then are they both negative? That's the question. Are they both negative? No, because if I'm going to make a negative answer, one needs to be positive, one needs to be negative. And then see how logically I have to have a negative in there and I have to have a positive. They could be reversed, but there has to be one negative. And last but not least, how do I make a 5? And don't go back to, it has to add to 9 and multiply to 5. No, it doesn't. It just has to multiply to 5. So it must be a 1 and a 5. Don't stress on this too long. It's possible I just did it wrong, but I'll know in a second. Outside, 10x. Inside, 9x. No, 1x, sorry. Negative 1x. So that the total is 9x. Yay, I got lucky. I seriously did. I didn't even look. I just tried one, and if it wouldn't have worked, I would have reversed the numbers. And by the way, do you ever move the signs? Yes. If you ever get the exact opposite answer as you wanted, like if you wanted this to come out as positive x and it's coming out negative x, then just switch the signs, not the numbers. That's the only time you ever switch the signs, is if you're getting the opposite of what you wanted, you switch to the opposite signs. All right, 3x, x. By logic, Gray, can you tell me whether it's a minus and a plus or a minus and a minus? I know there has to be a minus.
It's a minus and a plus.
Minus and a plus. Okay, good. Now, maybe those signs will have to be switched later, but one of them is going to be negative. I know that. Noah, can you tell me what numbers multiply to 10 that might work here? Now, I'm just going to slap the 5 here and the 2 here, and the probability of me being right at this point is really low, because there was a 50-50 chance I put the minus and the plus in the right spot, and a 50-50 chance I put the 2 and the 5 in the right spot. So now I check. Outside, 6x. Inside, minus 5x. Does that make... Ooh, that makes... Holy crap, I did get lucky. I really did. I didn't think, I didn't process, I just got lucky. Do you get if it wouldn't have worked, I would have just switched these two? And if that wouldn't have worked, I would have had the opposite of this number, and then I would have switched the signs around. Right, moving on to this. Without any help, as soon as you notice something critical, would you please raise your hand? Anwishan, what did you notice that might save people a lot of pain? Yes, there's a 3 in everything. Factor it out. Now, the other way, it could have worked, but the numbers are so big, it would have been nasty. By factoring out the 3, you're going to save us so much time. So, Anwishan, would you tell me what I have left?
You have 2x squared plus 7x plus 3.
Nice. Kenneth Lawrence, can you tell me what has to be in this first set of parentheses right here?
2x.
2x. And the other one?
X.
Yep. Ari, is this one of those kind where you know the signs right away? Yeah, what are they? Plus and plus. Lydia, can you tell me what the two numbers are?
1 and 3.
And You set them strategically with 1 and 3s, making me think maybe that's how I do it. I'm going to check. Outside 6x, inside 1x, total of 7x, yay. If she had told me wrong, I just want to show you, we don't always get lucky. Sometimes we put the 3 here and the 1 here, and then we go 3x, 2x, and that doesn't make 7x. And then you realize, oh, I guess I better switch them around. And a 1 must be here, and the 3 must be here. Okay. Moving on. On your own in this purple page, factor those. Factoring is definitely one of those things you get way better at it the more you do it. You'll probably be 3 times faster by the end of today than you were at the start of today. Mark, tell me how to start.
3x and then x.
Yep. Gavin, next step.
There's going to be a
Plus, plus, minus, plus, minus, minus,
plus.
minus, and a plus. Those might be backwards. We don't care until later. Paige, what do you do with the 5? What does that tell us?
That tells us that you can, there's a 5 and a 1
Yep.
somewhere.
Yep. I'm just going to put them in like you said, 5 and a 1. And now I check them. Negative 5x. Are the outside ones? 3x. That makes negative 2x. Ooh, finally one like I told you about. Do you get I'm getting negative 2x, but I wanted positive 2x? That's the kind where the sign switches, not the numbers. So this minus becomes a plus, and this plus becomes a minus. Did you catch that? That's the only time you switch the signs, is if you got the opposite middle that you wanted. All right. Leo, tell me how to start this one. Here and here. 5x and
Just X.
x. Good. Dylan, Friday. What signs?
Plus, minus and minus.
Ooh, good catch. I knew there was a minus because there was a minus. If there's any minuses, there's got to be a minus here. But you knew there was 2 minuses because the last answer was positive. Must have been 2 negatives multiplied. Mia, can you tell me the last 2 numbers? I'm going to put them in the order you said. We'll see if it works. Minus 3x. Outside minus 10x. That together makes minus 13x. Cool. It's factored. And a last thought, why do we even factor? What is the point of this? It tells me the x-intercepts. Within a few seconds, I can go x-intercept means y equals 0. So I put a 0 there, so 0 equals, or this equals 0. And then that tells me 2 is one of the x-intercepts. And these I can do in my head. I don't know if you can or not. The way I do them is I think, I want this 5 to cancel, and I want the 3 to be left. 3/5. You see how I did that? So 2 is one of them, and 3/5 is one of them. 2 would solve this one, make it equal 0. 3/5 would make that part equal 0. If you want, you can always go 5x minus 3 needs to equal 0. What should I do? Add 3 to both sides, divide by 5, 3/5. Okay. That's it, boys and girls. Back to this page right here. Let's see who's got a good medium-term memory. I did this with you about a week ago. Seiji, do you remember how to do the top one?
I don't know.
Okay, if I tell you this one, do you kind of get the pattern I just did there?
Yeah.
X plus and x minus, and then, oh, it's like it's a square root of this and the square root of this. All right, now can you do it?
X minus 10 and x plus 10.
That's it. That's all there is to it. It's called difference of squares. So And this is the part where I need to remind you of difference of squares. I did this the other day with you. Does it get more complicated? Like that. And you might think, well, I'll factor something out of them. No, you won't. You can't factor something out of both 149. They don't have any common factors. So instead, you set up two parentheses like always. And who can tell me what would be here and here? 10x. I heard it whispered. You were correct. 10x and 10x. And it's a plus and a minus. How could I know that? Because this is negative. It has to be one plus and one minus. And last but not least, what do you think? 7 and 7. There you go. If you're like, how do I know that that's right? Well, check it. Outside and the inside cancel each other out, which is good. So then all that's left is these two make 100x squared. And these two make minus 49. And that's what I needed. All right, if you really get that, you should be able to do this one like easy. Mark, I bet you already got it. Sorry, I actually thought you already had it, but maybe not.
Sorry, what?
Do you already have the answer?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
5x minus 1 and then 5x plus 1.
There you go. That's it. All right. Now your homework for today. We're already there. You can't afford to forget everything, like x-intercepts are where y equals 0. And you solve it. And you stick in y as 0, which is like f of x. And then you factor it, because that's the whole point of today, is factoring. So you could like get things like the x-intercepts. The y-intercept is where x is 0. And you can just stick in x is 0 here and here, and y, which is this, equals 9. And the axis of symmetry, the axis of symmetry is the axis of symmetry. It's always x equals, and it runs right through the vertex. And if I didn't know where the vertex was on something like this, one thing that I'm going to tell you now, because this is called pre-teaching. This was not on the docket for today, but I'm going to tell you a little formula that'll save you some pain, and then later when it's the official day for this, it'll be super easy. Here's a little formula. X equals negative b over 2a. Maybe you've seen that before. Do you remember x equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4c all over 2a? Get how it's the beginning and the end of the quadratic formula? That is how you can find the axis of symmetry. So, what's negative b? Well, look at the problem. Negative b would be 12 over 2a. 2 times negative 12, which is negative 24. So it'd be 12 over negative 24, which is negative a half. X equals negative a half. Again, that wasn't officially supposed to be taught today, but I'd rather teach it to you now so you can use it. It's so much faster than having to graph it and figure out that line that runs down the middle. X equals negative b over 2a gives you the axis of symmetry. There's another way to do it too, but you're eventually going to have to memorize that formula. I might as well tell you now. And the vertex then, well, the vertex is always, this is the axis symmetry, is the x of the vertex. So it'd be negative a half, comma, and then to get the vertex, I taught you this already, you stick the x number into the formula, which would be here, but it's going to be really gross, so we're not even going to do it this time. But you just stick the x into the equation. X goes into the equation and it gives you the y. All right, let's actually get into your homework. Everybody open up the Schoology quiz. Is it open, first of all? Sometimes they're disabled. It is open. Kate, would you read me number 1, please?
F of x equals 3x squared plus 5x minus 6.
A is not 1. A is 3. So I can factor this using the way I just taught you. 3x and x plus and a minus, because there's a negative. One of them must be negative. I might have to switch those signs later. I don't know. And then how do I make a 2? It's got to be a 2 and a 1. I'm just totally guessing. The odds of me being right are 25%. But I might be. Negative 6x plus 1x. That makes negative 5x. Ooh, it's the opposite of what I wanted. What do? Switch the signs. Instead of plus here, I'm gonna put a minus here and a plus here, and I know it's right, because it'll automatically work. If you ever get the opposite of what you wanted, you switch the signs, and you've got it. And there's your answer. Okay, you got time to work. Please use that time to come up and ask me questions if you get stuck, and that's all I got for you for today.